Patrick, thank you so much for coming in. It's great to have you in person.
It's great to be here.
And you're not far, so we hope we do it more often. 2 new products today. You get to make that news right in our backyard. The one that audio enthusiasts are most excited about is the Era 300. But it's not cheap, nearly $450. Some people are calling it a bit of a niche product. Tell us how it fits into the lineup and Sonos' long-term growth plans.
So spatial audio is really the next big move in audio. And this is a bit like when we went from mono to stereo last century. This is the way we're going to listen to music for the next 100 years. That is kind of in the early days right now. But the Era 300 is the best speaker out there to enjoy spatial audio. We built it from the ground up to really serve the spatial audio listener and the recording engineers, the artists, so they can use it to its fullest. And so we're super excited about that. But probably what I'm most excited about is we've also driven a lot of innovation with doing 2 products simultaneously. So that's a first for Sonos. And so that really shows you how the team is doing in terms of driving more innovation than ever before.
The products that you released are a higher price point. The one that is supposed to replace the Sonos One, I think it's 14% more expensive than its previous version. We're watching Powell right now talk about persistent inflation. The consumer is starting to feel that softer economic backdrop. Why do you think now is the time for a higher priced product lineup?
Yeah, so these products, I think from a price perspective, the one thing about Sonos that's quite different than many other products out there is how long they last. So we've been shipping products for 20 years, and over 90% of those products are still in use today. No other consumer electronics company can say that. If you think of a 10-year time horizon for the Era 100, that's $25 a year, right? And so you think about using it every day, we're talking, very, very small investment. And we build these products for 10 years. And so, there's always like short-term ups and downs in the economy, but we're really thinking about this from a long term. Our products take 18 to 24 months to come out. And so, definitely right now it's an uncertain time, but we're in this for the long term.
Right, and so you guys have always sort of cornered that premium market and haven't moved downstream. Today, another kind of point evidence there. Why not? Do you ever think about moving downstream into sort of creating a product that is more affordable?
If we could, I think from a value for money and thinking about how long our products last, they're as competitive as any products out there. We're always looking at what are the right price points, how do we do that? If we could build something great for less money, we would do it. But I think as you've seen, even from Apple with the iPhone, you want to be packing the latest and greatest technology and innovating. And when you do that, that comes at a cost. But consumers have proven that they're willing to pay that cost for our products. And again, they last for so long.
But even in the current macroeconomic backdrop, some of those premium products like the iPhone, like some others, demand is starting to show signs that it is getting a little bit softer. So in this environment right now, if you expect that the economy is going to soften further, do you have more urgency to try and develop a lower price product?
No, we'll manage the short term as we need to, but in fact, we're investing. So, we are investing in 4 new categories that we're not in yet. We started focusing on profitability before it was fashionable. So we've been at this for a few years, and so we have a strong balance sheet, no debt, we're profitable. And so, we think this is a time to lean in and actually drive more innovation and get more aggressive in terms of new categories.
That profitability, though, has been a little bit lumpy, as have your sales. And I should note as well as I look at this net income, yes, you are net income profitable, a distinction we like to make here. But like I said, it's been lumpy. Of course, coming out of the effects of the pandemic when you saw your growth boom. But this past year, 2022, you grew at about 1.4%. At the midpoint of what you're expecting this year, it's 0%. What do you tell investors who are looking, especially in this market, at re-acceleration stories and looking for a longer term growth story?
Yeah, I think with our focus on new categories, the new products coming out, this is a short term economic challenge. And so, it's really more about the long term, and we're investing for the long term. And so we've always said, we're comfortable in that 10 to 15% annual growth range. Some years you'll be lower than that. Some years you'll be higher. We were 30% in one of the years of the pandemic, for instance. But over the long term, we think that sustainable, profitable growth is the most important thing to focus on, and we're confident that we can continue to deliver that.
I think I read somewhere that you were targeting 10 to 12 in the long-term percentage top-line growth. Does that sound right?
Yeah, 10 to 15% is what we kind of have said over the long term, yeah.
Okay. As you said, you guys were profitable before it was fashionable to be so.
Yeah.
What kind of changes are you making in the business right now, if any, in terms of headcount, in terms of levers you can pull to achieve even greater efficiency?
I would like to think we've always been focused on those things, but certainly, when the economy's a little bit tougher, you take a second look. So we're looking at all the different cost levers and trying to make sure that we're hiring people in the right places. We are still hiring. So how do you do that? What are the right areas to be investing? But again, we're in investment mode, and we set that expectation when we reported results and said, hey, we're going to take a little less profit this year so we can invest in these new categories because we believe it will help that reacceleration of growth in the future. And so far, investors have been very supportive. So we're not doing anything drastic, as you see from some of the big tech companies.
Did you hire over the pandemic? How much did you hire?
We did. So we added over that period, a pretty steady amount. So we're up to 1,800 people. I mean, we're tiny by big tech standards at this point.
Right. Last quarter, something stuck out to me that you said on the analyst call too. It stuck out to other people as well. You said the big players just haven't seen them active and haven't seen them, doing anything interesting. Do you anticipate that to last, or do you think that they're getting ready for their own product refreshes or product innovation?
From everything I've seen, and one of them just brought something out recently, I just still don't see anything interesting. And I think from what I've seen and read at this point, most of them are kind of backing off from the category. And so I feel like this is an excellent time for us to lean in and take even more market share. We took market share in the holiday quarter, and so we feel good about our position in the market.
What about Apple? Because you're making a big bet on spatial audio. You could argue that Apple was actually there before you guys. They've emphasized it with their AirPods and their devices. So surely you must think that they're doing something interesting.
Well, the key with spatial audio out loud is making sure that you're building a product from the ground up that can serve really the function, right? So form follows function. With the Era 300, that's a completely new product built for spatial audio. Other products that have come out that are kind of refreshed for spatial audio can't achieve what the Era 300 is. And certainly, we're working closely with the Apple Music team. We have a great partnership with them to deliver all that great spatial audio content to Sonos customers. But we think the Era 300 is far and above the best spatial audio speaker out there.
So would you lump Apple in that group of big tech that you don't see doing anything interesting?
I'll let customers, decide what's interesting or not. But I would argue that the Era 300 is by far the best spatial audio speaker out there.
You'd probably argue more interesting. Okay, so as you said, you're signing partnerships and you work with a lot of the big tech companies, but there's another side of this where you're also kind of fighting with them, especially when it comes to lawsuits and Google. Where do those stand right now? And you called Google a bully in a recent interview I read. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certain companies that just trample on other companies' IP, inventions, and kind of come in and expect that nobody's going to do anything. And I don't think that's right. I feel like I need to stand up for all of the inventors at Sonos that came up with everything that we're doing. And so we have court cases in the spring and as well the fall that we'll see, this really come to a head with Google. It wasn't our preference to do this, but talks with them had just reached a point where they weren't taking it seriously. And so we go to the courts, obviously in the ITC, we've won, unanimously. And we're also, they've taken action against us in a variety of countries, and I think we're 10 for 10 in those right now as well. So we feel very good about our position. We'd rather not have to, approach it with lawsuits, obviously, but at the end of the day, I am going to stand up for our inventions.
How do you make sure that over the long term, this isn't a distraction or it doesn't hit innovation and it doesn't affect the partnerships that you're trying to build also?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And so that's been a really important thing. And you've seen us, even since we launched the lawsuit, continue to innovate, our at least 2 new products every year. That is where 99% of the company is focused. And then we have a team, an amazing team, small but mighty on the legal and IP side that, really are focused on this. But it's been one of my messages to the team is we need to continue to innovate and win in the marketplace. And we've been able to do that.
And I want to go back to sort of finish on the lineup that you guys are releasing. Have you seen any indication in your own sales data that consumers are willing to spend more on audio in this moment, in this backdrop?
Definitely in calendar Q4, we saw that in terms of our ARC sales, which is a premium product, our sub MIDI, some of these products. And so we are seeing it. And I think the economy is bifurcating a bit, right, where you do see premium and luxury continuing to be pretty strong in the face of it. And then you see, at the entry level as well. There's not a lot of middle ground, but we feel pretty good about the way we're positioned.
That was Q4. Anything that you can tell us, even just about the year so far, the current quarter so far? Have you seen demand holding up, especially in those premium products?
I'd say, as we said, like on our earnings, it's a pretty uncertain environment in terms of what we're working in. So we tried, in terms of our guidance, to be pretty reasonable and measured in terms of what we're putting out there. And so we're continuing to work towards that.